He's a real estate investor, now coach, entrepreneur, and has flipped over 100 plus properties in his short career. Give it up for Rafael Estrada.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you all you guys for being here. So I'm going to go get started. I'm a real estate investor. I have about 13 rentals, and I flip about 35 to 45 properties a year. And pretty much that's my bread and butter, fix and flips. So I'm going to be speaking a little bit about that. So the way that I got started, I moved here to America. I'm actually from Peru. I moved here at the age of 14. And I had to go through a bunch of challenges, like anyone else that had to move to the country. Since I was very young, none of my parents, I honestly didn't have any saying on it, to move here. So we just came in a plane, and I ended up just staying here. So that was a lot of stuff happening for me. I had to learn English, and at the age of 22 was actually when I first got my car. I was actually able to drive, which was a very big part of my success that happens now. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, I started in the banking industry. So I think a few of you guys that I spoke, also started at Wells Fargo. So that was the place where I started at. We had to open up 2 checking accounts, 2 savings accounts, credit cards, on the low, where they didn't even know that happened, just so you can get your sales. You guys know what I'm talking about. But, and then after that, obviously, Wells Fargo got the big lawsuit. So, but, that's kind of how I got started. I didn't like 9 to 5 too much, having someone behind your back, asking you every day, how many sales you got done. Every day you have calls, it was like someone behind you just telling you, what to do and then how you can do things better. Even if you reach your goal, they want to know how you can do better. I don't know why. But yeah, so being at the bank, I got to see a lot of people's accounts, and everyone that had usually over 50,000, I always ask them that question, hey, what is it that you do that you have so much money in there? And they always tell me, like, real estate. One of the guys owned, a small shopping center. The other guy owned some commercial units, and then the rest was like fix and flips. So the way that I got started was actually during COVID. I was working at the bank, and I went to a conference up in San Francisco, where a guy was talking about how he fixed and flipped. In San Francisco, purchase price is about $1 million. You're putting like 200,000 down, and then you're selling it for like 2 million and up. So you're pretty much making $500,000 in just one flip. And that's taking about 6 months. So I was very interested about that, even though it doesn't happen often here in Colorado. But, that's kind of what got me started. I went to that event, and I spoke with the Harmon lender, and I came back, and I got my first property under contract. And then I remember when I got that under contract, I put $10,000 earnest money down. And during COVID, every Harmon lender was backing out. They're like, hey, just so you know, we're not going to lend you anymore. So after speaking with like 8 different Harmon lenders, I finally got someone that was able to lend me about 50%. So I was putting a lot of money down. On this first deal, I had to do a lot of labor, which I do 0 labor, just so you know. So I had to learn how to paint the fence. And I realized when I sold it that I only painted the inside. I didn't paint the outside, so that was a big mistake for me. I tried to put sod, which everything was on level. But at the end of the day, I ended up selling this $600,000 house, and I made about a whooping $5,000, which was not much. But like everyone says, your first deal does not make you rich, but it gives you all the knowledge that you need to go on. Now, after this first deal, I was so traumatized about single-family homes because, with the inspection reports, you get this sewage line. There was an extra $6,000. You get this roofing was a whooping $10,000, and then you have radon and all these different things that you don't have to worry when you buy condos. Well, I don't know. Some of you guys know I'm the condo king. I buy a lot of condos. So after this one, I picked up a condo for like $110,000, and it took me like 3 weeks, and I sold it to a cash buyer. So I was all in for about 45 days, and I made like $22,000 on my first condo flip. So I made more money on the condo flip than the single family home. So after that, I just started flipping a bunch of condos. I flipped probably about 5 that first year. And then after like a year and a half, I was like, okay, maybe it's time to get back into the single family because that's where the big money is. So I picked up my next single family home, and on that one I made about $50,000. So, that was nice. Now, you got to understand that fix and flips, you buy the property and then you sell it for a profit. So there's a lot of factors that come in if you're trying to pick up your first fix and flip. The first thing is going to be calculating what your ARV is. The ARV is the after repair value, so you need to run comps. The comps pretty much tell you what you're going to sell the property for. So you have to make sure that your comps are very, very strong. Like for example, right now we're going into the winter times where you probably have to adjust your ARV a little bit just because the properties are sitting a little bit more in the market. They're not, I know most people pull 3 months back, but just know that 3 months back was summer, which was hotter market. But you're coming into the slower market. So that's something that you have to take into consideration right now, especially. Now, when we go into the summer, your comps should be okay. So that's going to be the number one thing that you have to calculate, your ARV. Now, once you have your ARV, you're going to pay realtor commissions, depending on who you use. You can pay 3.8%, 4%, 5%, 6%, depending who you use. There's a lot of realtors here. Most of them are probably on the retail side, so most people charge the full, 3% and on. But when you work with someone that's giving you a lot of volume, you're going to be paying a little bit less. Now, the next thing is going to be, how do you fund these deals? How do you fund them? So it's going to be hard money loans. So we have a good friend, Jalen, here. He's from Capital Fund 1. He's funded a few of my deals. So they usually lend you like 80 to 90% of the purchase price. So if you're buying a condo for $100,000, they're going to be lending you about 90%, 85 to 90%. So you'll be coming in with $10,000 plus closing costs, which may be another 1%, or if your wholesaler already includes the closing costs, then you don't have to worry about that. So that's going to be that part. Now, as far as the rehab, that's a big question for a lot of people is, how do I calculate rehab? So there's many ways to calculate rehab, but if it's your first one, you probably want to bring in a friend or someone that knows about construction. On the condos, like I know for a 1-bed, 1-bath, I'm usually spending about $20,000 tops. For a 2-bed, 1-bath, or 2-bed, 2-bath, I'm probably spending about $25,000 to $30,000. I have condos mastered pretty much. I don't even have to go see them to go buy them. Now, single-family homes depends. I have a good calculator that I use. I usually multiply the square footage times 45 or 50, depending on how much of the home there is. So if it's a 2,000 square feet home, you multiply them by 40, 45, 50. That's kind of how I calculate everything. So it's a good calculator that I use personally without even looking at the property. Now, when you go look at the property, there's extra stuff that you have to, change, like the roof. That might be an extra $10,000. If it's a meth-contaminated home, you need to get a bid for that. If it has foundation problems, you also have to get a bid for that. So those are the things that you have to take into consideration. Now, a big part of my niche of buying things is obviously condos. I like to buy foundation problem homes because a lot of people are scared of them. The next one is meth-contaminated homes, and then the luxury is the one that I've been doing the last year. Is the higher end, you're paying a lot for the mortgage on those. They're going to sell for $1 million and up. So that is my niche right now. Now, once you have the ARV, the realtor commissions, then your closing costs. I usually like to calculate 1.5 to 2% of closing costs on my calculator. So I just backtrack everything. I kind of use a napkin or a calculator or an Excel sheet, and I just backtrack everything. Now, the rest of what you have your rehab, so you have the ARV, then you're subtracting the real estate commissions, then you're subtracting the closing costs, and then you're subtracting the rehab. And then for condos, I usually like to make $15,000. So if it gives me $15,000 to make on condos, then I'm fine. If it's more, it's better. Now, in a single-family home, I'm personally looking at least $40,000. If it's a $600,000 ARV or less home, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And then if it's a home that I'm going to be selling over $900,000, I am looking for 6 figures. I don't look at anything less than that. So that is kind of my metrics of how to calculate my profits. Now, how do you find these deals? I think most people know, you can find it on the MLS. Now, the MLS is very competitive, so you kind of have to be the first one buying it or putting a bid on it. Or there's a bunch of times that I've won stuff from the MLS. It's just stuff that fell out of contract, so I'm kind of like the backup. That's like the only time that I want to be a backup. So, and then the other way, it's going to be wholesaling. When you find wholesalers, which I think Cesar spoke a little bit about, it's people that are door knocking. It's people that are going to be buying lists, maybe cold calling. They have a cold caller that are, calling a bunch of people. It could be tax liens, foreclosures, probates, And that's how they find a lot of the deals. Then the wholesalers go ahead and sell them to you, sell them to a flipper, and then the flipper closes on it with a harmony loan. And then the other way is going to be social media. So I find a lot of stuff on social media. You may get a friend that is like, hey, have someone that, can't no longer afford their house, they're going into foreclosure, or, somebody passed away, and then that's when I go take a look at the house, I give them a cash offer, and then we're able to get that property locked up. Right now I have 13 projects that I have going on at once, so it is a lot to handle, but if you have the right crews, it is a little bit easier. Now, I get a lot of questions on how do you find crews? So there's a lot of different ways to find people that can work on these different homes. So I usually GC everything out, so I find someone that can handle plumbing and electrical, and they have like a small crew, kind of like a handyman. You can find them on Facebook groups. The other big trick that I use is also you can go to Home Depot at 6 in the morning, and you can see anybody that's really up early trying to get all their materials and are ready to go. These are usually the people that are always shooting for more. So you want to find those. That's actually how I found a lot of my electricians and my plumbers. Those are kind of going to be the hardest ones to find because they're usually mostly busy. But I've been able to find them, going to Home Depot very early, or just people that tell you, hey, I work with this person, you should use them. So that's how I've been able to find plumbers and electricians. And then so once you have your crews, then it's easier. You have that Home Depot Pro account. All you have to do is just get the text message, approve the materials. You don't ever have to go to the property to approve all these materials. They pretty much pick up everything, and they get done with everything. Now, you do have to check on them maybe once a week, because they usually want to get paid on Friday. So you want to check on Thursday or Friday, and then once everything has been going on track, then you can go ahead and get them paid. You can get them paid checks, Zelle, Cash App, whatever payment you want to do, just keep track of everything. So that is a good way to do it. Now, if you're looking for your first fix and flip, I always recommend people to go ahead and start small, maybe a condo. If you're doing a condo for under $200,000, you're probably putting a down payment and a rehab. You're probably going to be all in like at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, depending how cheap the condo is. And you can use your credit card, you can use money, your own money, you can raise money. I wouldn't recommend you to raise money on your first deal, but as you progress and you get more comfortable with how you're doing fix and flips, then it is easier to raise money. I raise a lot of money through social media. That's honestly how I'm able to handle so many projects at once. It is very easy to raise money once you have the experience and the brand. You could just put it out there, raise money, and pay them a yearly interest rate for what you do. You can also partner up with people, other people that want to invest with you. You both can put 50-50 of the money together. That's another way that you can do it. Or, you can just do it with your own money, your own savings. But just know that, maybe for the cheapest condo, you're probably going to need a good $35,000 to $40,000 to get started. And then, that's pretty much it. How do you do the flips? You have the ARV, you have your crews, you have your commissions that you're deducting from there, you have your closing costs, and then you can do your profit. Now, these condos that I'm talking about, it may take you about 60 days, maybe 90 days from the time that you close on the property until you sell it. This is why I love condos so much, because I know it's a little bit of money, but it is money that comes very quickly. Now, in the single family homes, you're taking about 3 to 5 months, especially right now it's a little bit slower. On the luxury, now you're looking at a little bit more like 6 months to 7 months. But like I said, the more that you wait on it, or the more the project takes, usually you're making more money. But the condos is always great. I usually have 2 to 3 going, maybe at once. You get paid maybe $15,000 to $20,000, every month. Sometimes they close, 3 in 1 month, and that's pretty decent money, Now last year, I remember in my fourth quarter when nobody was buying, just because everybody got, when the market changed, everybody was just like super surprised. A lot of people lost money. Me and my partner lost about $225,000 between 3 properties. But when you have the knowledge, they can take everything away from me. But if you have the knowledge, you can get back up on your feet. Now, what happened after that, after last year, around August, when everybody lost a little bit of money or a lot of money, I picked up a lot of properties in the fourth quarter. So in March this year, I had 7 closings. I made about $315,000 just in that month alone. So that is the power of real estate. As long as you have a machine going, you have stuff closing, then you can close a lot of things. It's all about knowledge and getting experience on how you can do things. But I think that should be it. Thank you guys so much.